June 23, 2023. Sevastopol, Crimea. Russia's Black Sea Fleet headquarters. Protected by layered air defense. S-400 Triumph long-range systems. Panzer S-1 point defense. Electronic warfare. Radar coverage overlapping in multiple bands. One of the most defended locations in Russian-controlled territory. Or 2 hours. Storm Shadow cruise missiles launched from Ukrainian Su-24 aircraft operating 250-plus kilometers away penetrate Sevastopol's airspace. Flight time from launch, approximately 15 minutes. S-400 systems that should detect and engage threats at 400-kilometer range. Don't intercept. The missiles strike their targets. Russian Naval Headquarters building. Submarine repair facility. Ammunition storage. The attack succeeds in the heart of Russia's most defended naval base. Past air defenses that cost $500 million per battery. Systems marketed globally as best in class. Invincible protection against any aerial threat. Except they didn't stop the missiles. And this isn't the first time, or the second, or even the 10th. But whether S-400's repeated failures represent fundamental design flaws, or operational incompetence, or something worse that Russia doesn't want to admit, is what reveals everything about modern air defense. This is Military Report, where we analyze the battles that change wars. S-400 Triumph. NATO designation. SA-21 Growler. Russia's premier long-range air defense system. Entered service 2007. Export sales to Turkey, China, India, Saudi Arabia. Others. Marketing claims can intercept aircraft, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, drones. Range up to 400 kilometers for aircraft, 250 kilometers for ballistic missiles. Simultaneous engagement, 36 targets. Cost, $300–500 million per battalion, 8 launchers, radar command post. Russia deployed S-400 extensively in Ukraine, Crimea, multiple battalions protecting Black Sea Fleet, air bases, eastern Ukraine, covering occupied territories, protecting logistics, southern Russia, protecting territory adjacent to Ukraine, Belarus, protecting approaches from north. Total deployed, estimated 20–30 battalions, hundreds of launchers. The densest air defense network since Cold War. Mission: prevent Ukrainian Air Force from operating. Stop cruise missile strikes. Intercept drones. Create air superiority through ground-based systems, since Russian Air Force can't achieve it through aviation. February through December 2022. S-400 performance initially appears adequate. Ukrainian Air Force operates cautiously. Stays out of S-400 range mostly. Some losses when venturing too close. Russian claim. S-400 working as designed. Creating no-fly zone. Mission accomplished. But problems emerge. Ukrainian TB2 Bayraktar drones, slow, not stealthy, costing $5 million, operate successfully despite S-400 presence. Not every time, but enough times to matter. Strike Russian armor. Artillery. Logistics. The supposedly vulnerable drones survive long enough to be effective. HIMARS rockets, M31 guided munitions with 80-kilometer range strike Russian targets repeatedly. Ammunition depots, EU command posts. Troop concentrations. S-400 should intercept these. Rocket artillery is exactly the threat it's designed to defeat. Yet strikes succeed. Again. And again. Then Storm Shadow arrives. British-French cruise missiles. Stealthy design. Low-altitude flight profile. 250-plus kilometer range. Targets deep in Russian-controlled territory. Success rate high. S-400 intercepts some. Many get through. The pattern is clear. The invincible air defense isn't. 3 questions. We'll answer them at the end. Is S-400 fundamentally flawed in design, making marketing claims fraudulent from the start? Did Russian operators fail to employ S-400 correctly, making this competence failure rather than equipment failure? Or is modern air warfare so evolved that even the best air defense systems can't reliably stop determined attacks with modern weapons? The official Russian narrative blames Ukrainian tactics, NATO intelligence support, overwhelming numbers of targets, never admits S-400 limitations. The marketing to export customers must continue. Admitting failure loses billions in potential sales. The Western narrative celebrates superior technology, Ukrainian skill, NATO training, validates Western system superiority, encourages more support for Ukraine. Both narratives are incomplete because S-400's failure reveals truths about air defense that both sides would prefer to obscure. Let's examine what S-400 is actually capable of doing versus what it's marketed to do. System design and capabilities. Component 1, Radar 91N6E, Big Bird. Detection range, 600 kilometers for large aircraft. Tracks 100-plus targets simultaneously. Provides early warning and target acquisition. X-band radar, powerful but not immune to countermeasures. Component 2, Engagement Radar 92N6E, Gravestone. Fire Control Radar. Tracks targets and guides missiles. Can handle 6 targets simultaneously per unit. Multiple units can operate together for greater capacity. Component 3, Command Post, Automated Battle Management. Receives data from radars. Prioritizes targets. Allocates missiles. Coordinates multiple launchers. Should enable optimal resource allocation. Component 4, Launchers. TEL, Transporter Erector Launcher. Vehicles. Each carries 4 missiles. Standard battalion has 8 launchers, 32 missiles ready to fire. Reload time significant. Once missiles are expended, must reload or withdraw. Component 5, Missiles. Multiple types for different threats. 40N6, long range, 400 kilometers for aircraft and cruise missiles. 48N6, medium range, 250 kilometers for aircraft and ballistic missiles. 9mm 96C2, medium range, 120 kilometer, highly maneuverable for agile targets. 9mm 96E, short range, 40 kilometers for point defense. The diversity should provide flexibility. Right missile for each threat. Theory is sound. Reality proves different. Advertised capabilities. Intercept aircraft at 400 kilometers. Intercept ballistic missiles at 60 kilometer altitude. Engage cruise missiles flying low altitude. Destroy drones large and small. Function in heavy electronic warfare environment, operate autonomously or as part of integrated network. These aren't lies exactly. More like optimistic interpretations of test results under ideal conditions. Stay with me. What happens when S-400 faces real combat reveals why laboratory performance doesn't equal battlefield effectiveness. But the reasons are more complex than equipment failure. TB2 Bayraktar versus S-400. The mismatch that shouldn't exist. TB2 specifications. Wingspan 12 meters, speed 130 km/h cruise, altitude typically 18,000 to 25,000 feet, operational, radar cross-section, not stealthy. Conventional design. Cost, 5 million S-400 should devour TB2s. Slow, not maneuverable. Large enough radar signature. Operating in altitude range perfect for S-400 engagement. In theory, TB2 survival against S-400 should be impossible. Early war. S-400 does shoot down TB2s. Multiple confirmed kills. System works as advertised. Turkish drones fall to Russian air defense. The superiority is proven. But TB2s keep operating. Ukraine loses maybe 10 to 15 TB2s total over 2 years. Still operates the survivors. Still achieves strikes. How? Tactic 1. Range exploitation. TB2 launches weapons from maximum range. Stays 20-30 km from S-400 coverage edge. Weapons, MAML laser-guided munitions, glide to targets. Drone doesn't enter direct threat zone. S-400 must choose, engage drone at limit of range or ignore and let it launch weapons. Tactic 2. Low altitude approach. Fly low initially. Use terrain masking. Pop up only to acquire target and launch weapon. Minimizes time exposed to radar. S-400's radar horizon is limited by curvature of Earth. Low-flying targets are detected late. Tactic 3. Electronic warfare support. Ukrainian EW tries to jam S-400 radars, not always successful, but creates uncertainty. Radar contacts disappear and reappear, forces S-400 operators to be cautious about firing. Uncertainty increases. Tactic 4. Saturation windows. Launch drones when S-400 is engaged with other threats. Artillery strike happening simultaneously. Multiple drones from different directions. S-400 has capacity limits. Can't engage everything at once. Gaps emerge. Tactic 5. Decoys and feints. Some TB2 flights are decoys. Draw S-400 attention and missile expenditure. Actual strike comes from different direction or different platform. S-400 operators can't distinguish easily. Must assume every contact is real threat. The tactics work. Not perfectly. Ukraine loses TB2s. But losses are acceptable. The $5 million drones survive often enough against $500 million air defense system to remain operationally effective. The economics favor offense. The tactics exploit defense limitations. This is Military Report. Real tactics. Real consequences. HIMARS versus S-400. The engagement that shouldn't be fair. M31 GMLRS rocket, standard HIMARS ammunition. Range, 80+ kilometers. Speed, supersonic, Mach 2.5+. Guidance, GPS inertial. Warhead, 90 kilos high explosive. Cost, $168,000 per rocket. S-400 should intercept these. Ballistic trajectory, supersonic but not hypersonic. Predictable flight path, well within S-400 engagement envelope. The rockets should die before reaching targets. June 2022. First HIMARS delivered to Ukraine. Russia confident. S-400 will neutralize threat. American system is expensive, but S-400 is equal or better. Russian military expects high interception rate. Reality. HIMARS strikes succeed. Repeatedly. Russian ammunition depots destroyed. Command posts hit. Artillery positions eliminated. S-400 intercepts some rockets. Maybe 10–20% of strikes. Vast majority succeed. Why? Factor 1. Detection challenge. HIMARS shoots from 70+ kilometers away. Launch point is outside S-400 radar horizon if terrain provides masking. First detection of rocket is already en route. Little time to calculate intercept. Factor 2. Target prioritization. S-400 radar sees multiple threats. Aircraft. Drones. Artillery shells. Rockets. Must prioritize. HIMARS rocket might not be highest priority target, especially if other threats present simultaneously. Factor 3. Missile inventory. Each S-400 launcher has 32 missiles ready. Reload takes time and is vulnerable. Operators conserve missiles for highest value threats. Might let some HIMARS rockets through to save interceptors for aircraft or larger missiles. Factor 4. Trajectory unpredictability. HIMARS can shoot and scoot. Launch vehicle moves immediately after firing. S-400 can't counter battery effectively. Can't suppress launch platform. Only option is intercept missiles in flight. And with multiple launches from different locations, creates targeting problem. Factor 5. Cost exchange. Russian S-400 missile costs $13 million. HIMARS rocket costs $168,000. Firing interceptor costs 518x more than target. If Russia shoots down every HIMARS rocket, economic victory goes to Ukraine. Russia preserves interceptors even when technically could engage. Result: HIMARS operates effectively despite S-400 presence. Not invulnerable. Some rockets intercepted. Some launchers located and struck. But operational impact is significant. Russian logistics disrupted. Command degraded. Artillery depleted. Strategic effect achieved despite air defense. Storm Shadow versus S-400. The challenge S-400 was specifically designed to defeat. Storm Shadow JERS Scalp EG specifications. Type: air-launched cruise missile. Range: 250+ kilometers. Export version, possibly more for Ukraine. Speed: subsonic. Mach 0.8. Flight profile: low altitude terrain following. Guidance, GPS inertial plus terrain mapping plus imaging, infrared terminal seeker, stealth, reduced radar cross-section design, warhead, 450 kilobits broach, penetrator for hardened targets, cost, 1.2 million. S-400 marketing specifically emphasizes cruise missile defense capability. Intercepts subsonic cruise missiles, protect strategic targets. This is core mission. If S-400 can't stop cruise missiles, what's it good for? May 2023, Ukraine receives Storm Shadow from UK. Begins employment against high-value Russian targets in occupied territory. Ammunition depots. Command posts. Naval facilities. Targets previously considered safe due to range. S-400 response. Some interceptions. Official Russian claims. High success rate. Reality observed from Ukrainian strikes. Many missiles reach targets. Successful strikes on critical facilities. Pattern suggests interception rate may be 20–40%. Significant, but not enough to prevent operational impact. Why doesn't S-400 stop Storm Shadow reliably? Challenge 1. Stealth features. Storm Shadow has reduced radar cross-section. Not true stealth like F-35, but smaller signature than conventional cruise missile. Detection range is reduced. May be detected at 80–120 kilometers instead of 200–300 kilometers advertised. Less time to engage. Challenge 2. Terrain following flight. Storm Shadow flies 30–50 meters above terrain. Uses terrain masking. Radar horizon limits detection. S-400 might not see missile until it's 30–50 kilometers away due to Earth curvature and terrain blocking. Very short engagement window. Challenge 3. Terminal maneuvers. Storm Shadow's final approach includes evasive maneuvers and pop-up for terminal dive. Makes intercept timing difficult. S-400 missile must predict where Storm Shadow will be. Terminal evasion defeats prediction. Challenge 4. Electronic countermeasures. Storm Shadow has electronic warfare suite. Radar warning receiver. Countermeasures against radar-guided missiles. Makes S-400 lock more difficult. Not invulnerable, but harder to hit than non-ECM target. Challenge 5. Saturation timing. Ukraine launches Storm Shadow when S-400 is dealing with other threats. Or launches multiple Storm Shadows simultaneously from different directions. S-400 capacity is limited. Can't engage all threats. Prioritization becomes impossible. Which S-400 limitation is most critical? A. Radar limitations. B. Missile performance. C. Operator capacity. The answer determines if problem is fixable. Keep watching. Russian countermeasures and why they fail. Countermeasure 1. Deploy more S-400 battalions. Russia does this. Adds more systems. Problem: doesn't fix fundamental limitations. Just spreads limited capability across more geography. Gaps still exist. Saturation still works. Countermeasure 2. Integrate with other air defense. Combine S-400 with Pantsir, Tor, Buk for layered defense. Should create redundancy. Problem: all systems face similar limitations. Low-flying, stealthy targets are hard for entire network. Integration helps but doesn't solve core issues. Countermeasure 3. Improve electronic warfare. Jam GPS to disrupt HIMARS and Storm Shadow guidance. Some success. But both weapons have inertial backup navigation. Terrain mapping doesn't require GPS. ECM helps marginally. Not decisive. Countermeasure 4. Relocate high-value targets. Move ammunition, command posts, logistics away from range of Ukrainian weapons. Effective for survival, but operationally costly. Longer supply lines. Reduced responsiveness. Strategic loss even without tactical destruction. Countermeasure 5. Strike launch platforms. Try to destroy HIMARS launchers, Ukrainian aircraft. Limited success. HIMARS shoots and scoots. Ukrainian aircraft launch from safe distances outside Russian air defense range. Can't suppress what you can't reach. None of these countermeasures restores S-400's advertised effectiveness. All impose costs. All acknowledge the system doesn't work as marketed. The adaptation is essentially admission of failure. September 2023 through February 2024. Pattern continues and worsens. Ukrainian strikes increase in frequency and success rate. Russian air defenses don't improve meaningfully. If anything, effectiveness decreases as interceptor inventories deplete, maintenance degrades, operator fatigue accumulates, electronic warfare evolves. Specific engagements. August 2023, Ukrainian strike on Saki Air Base, Crimea. Multiple aircraft destroyed on ground. S-400 present. Doesn't prevent attack. Post-strike analysis shows air defense was active but ineffective. October 2023, ATACMS missiles American Longer Range System strike Russian helicopter base. S-400 present. Most missiles reach targets. Russia claims high interception rate. Satellite imagery shows extensive damage. Claims don't match reality. December 2023. Series of Ukrainian long-range drone strikes deep into Russia. Hundreds of kilometers beyond front line. Past multiple S-400 coverage zones. Drones reach targets. Refineries. Air bases. Industrial facilities. S-400 doesn't stop them. The drones are slow, not stealthy. Should be easy targets. Aren't. Pattern is clear. S-400 cannot reliably defend even high-priority strategic targets against determined Ukrainian strikes using diverse weapons. The system provides some defense, not comprehensive defense, not reliable defense, just partial, inconsistent defense at enormous cost. This is Military Report, where we break down the battles that change wars. Export implications and customer concerns. Countries that purchased S-400, Turkey, $2.5 billion received 2019-2020, China, $3 billion multiple batteries received, India, $5.4 billion deliveries beginning 2021, Saudi Arabia, negotiations ongoing, concerned about performance. These customers are watching Ukraine closely. Performance data matters more than marketing claims. If S-400 can't stop HIMARS and Storm Shadow in combat, why pay billions? Turkey especially concerned, NATO member. Has access to Western intelligence on S-400 performance. Knows system limitations intimately. Original purchase was political statement as much as military necessity. But if system doesn't work, political statement looks foolish. India questioning. Paid $5.4 billion, expects capability matching cost. If S-400 can't stop Pakistan's aircraft or missiles, investment is wasted. Indian military analyzing Ukraine data extensively. Considering keep S-400 but reduce role, or admit mistake and seek alternatives. Saudi Arabia reconsidering, was negotiating purchase. Ukraine performance makes them hesitant. Alternative. Patriot, PAC-3. THAAD. Western systems with combat-proven performance, more expensive, but proven effective. The comparison isn't favorable for S-400. Russian response, deny, deny, deny. Blame Ukrainian tactics. NATO intelligence. Overwhelming attacks. Never admit system limitations. Marketing requires maintaining perception of effectiveness. Future sales depend on it. Billions in revenue at stake. Can't admit failure. But customers aren't fooled. Combat performance speaks louder than marketing. Export sales are declining. Production lines face uncertain future. The commercial impact follows military failure. Let's answer the three questions now. Is S-400 fundamentally flawed in design? Partially yes. Design choices made in 1990s, 2000s didn't anticipate widespread availability of stealth features even in cruise missiles, GPS-guided precision weapons proliferating to small militaries, massive drone warfare at all scales, electronic warfare sophistication of modern attackers, tactics exploiting radar horizon and terrain, masking systematically. S-400 was designed for different threat environment. Large aircraft. Primitive cruise missiles, ballistic missiles without advanced countermeasures. Against those threats, performs adequately. But modern threats evolved faster than S-400 did. Incremental upgrades can't fix fundamental architecture. The radar, missile kinematics, battle management software, all designed for different operational environment. Not fraud exactly. But claims of comprehensive air defense are impossible with this design against modern threats. The marketing oversold capability relative to design limitations. Did Russian operators fail to employ S-400 correctly? Also, partially yes. Evidence suggests inadequate training for complex multi-threat scenarios, poor coordination between different air defense systems, insufficient electronic warfare integration, reactive rather than proactive tactics, failure to adapt to Ukrainian tactics evolution. Better operators might achieve marginally better results, but can't overcome fundamental design limitations. Even perfectly employed, S-400 can't stop all modern threats. Operator failures amplify design failures. Both factors matter. Or is modern air warfare so evolved that even best air defense can't reliably stop attacks? This is closer to complete truth. Modern offense has advantages. Attacker chooses time and place. Saturation is always possible with enough weapons. Stealth, speed, and maneuverability are improving faster than detection and intercept. Cost exchange ratio favors offense. Cheap weapons versus expensive interceptors. Electronic warfare tilts toward whoever has initiative. Even perfect air defense can't stop everything. S-400's failure isn't unique. Patriot faces similar challenges. THAAD has limitations. Iron Dome struggles with saturation. Aegis can be overwhelmed. The inherent advantage of modern offense over defense is systemic. S-400 isn't special failure. It's typical failure of modern air defense facing evolved threats. The difference is Russian marketing created expectations S-400 couldn't meet. Western systems generally advertise more realistic capabilities. When they fail, it's less shocking. The quiz answer: which S-400 limitation is most critical? A. Radar limitations. 40–50% of the problem. Can't intercept what you can't detect or track accurately. S-400's radar is powerful but has fundamental limitations. Horizon limits for low-flying targets, reduced detection range against low observable targets, difficulty discriminating targets in heavy ECM environment, processing capacity limits in complex scenarios. Better radars would help significantly. Not solve everything. But radar is the foundation. If radar fails, entire system fails. The sensor is the critical node. And S-400's radar architecture is 1990s technology facing 2020s threats. This is Military Report. Subscribe to Military Report, because preparation defeats improvisation. S-400 in Ukraine summary. Systems deployed. 20–30 battalions, estimated total launchers. 160–240 interceptors fired. Unknown, but likely thousands. Confirmed successful intercepts. Hundreds aircraft, drones, some missiles. Confirmed failures to intercept. Thousands based on successful Ukrainian strikes. Success rate against aircraft. 60–70% estimated success rate against cruise missiles. 20–40%. Estimated success rate against HIMARS. 10–20% estimated success rate against drones. Highly variable 30–60% estimated strategic impact. Failed to create reliable no-fly zone. Failed to prevent Ukrainian long-range strikes. Failed to protect high-value targets consistently. Degraded Ukrainian air operations but didn't eliminate them. Cost Russia billions in interceptors while Ukraine achieved strategic strikes. Lessons for military forces worldwide. Modern air defense cannot guarantee protection. Layered defense is necessary but not sufficient. Offense-defense balance favors offense currently. Economic considerations matter as much as technical capability. Marketing claims diverge from combat reality. No system is invincible against determined, diverse attacks. Implications for future warfare. Air defense will continue struggling against evolving threats. Drone saturation will get worse, not better. Stealth features proliferating to all weapon types. Hypersonic weapons, actual not marketing, will complicate defense further. Electronic warfare becoming as important as kinetic effects. Cost per intercept must decrease or defense becomes economically by realistic standards partially provides some defense against some threats. better than having no air defense, worse than marketing claims suggested, typical modern air defense system with typical modern limitations. Should countries buy S-400? Depends on alternatives and threat environment. Against poorly equipped adversaries, adequate. Against NATO-equipped opponents, insufficient. The Ukraine data should inform procurement decisions. Cheaper alternative exists if you accept limitations. Expensive alternatives, Western systems, have proven somewhat better, but also have limitations. What would you have done differently? As Russia, under-promise and over-deliver instead of reverse. Invest more in continuous upgrades. Integrate with other systems earlier. As potential customers, wait for combat data before buying. Demand performance guarantees. Consider alternatives. The S-400 story isn't about Russian failure. It's about reality of modern air defense facing modern threats. No system is invincible. All have gaps. All can be saturated. All struggle with low observable, diverse, numerous threats. Russia's mistake was claiming invincibility, creating expectations no system could meet. When reality inevitably arrived, the gap between claim and performance destroyed credibility. The weapon that was supposed to dominate Ukraine's skies allowed Ukrainian Air Force to survive, couldn't stop HIMARS from destroying Russian logistics, failed to prevent Storm Shadow from striking strategic targets, and let slow, vulnerable TB2 drones operate effectively enough to matter. Not because S-400 is useless, because modern warfare is hard, and marketing isn't reality. This is Military Report. Subscribe, because we break down the battles that textbooks will study for decades. The best Russian air defense, challenged by everything, stopped by nothing reliably. The system that cost $500 million per battalion and couldn't prevent $168,000 HIMARS rockets from destroying Russian ammunition worth tens of millions. The math doesn't lie. The performance doesn't lie. Only the marketing did. And in war, reality always wins. Stay vigilant.